So 100 undecided voters, they had an opportunity to, decide if they have decided and whom they will be voting for on Saturday. The great Kieran Gilbert, you can give him a million different titles, let's just say KG, joins us now from Suncorp Stadium, where his dream would be to one day get on a jersey and a pair of shorts and run out onto that field. But till then, he will toil behind the cameras here at Sky News. Great man, do we have a result?
We do. No Dan Carrubb needed today, though, for this performance. It was a close one, Paul. Yeah. I've got to tell you, I think Crisafulli will be pleased with these numbers. So even though Miles has won 39% of the room, Crisafulli 35%, 39 to 35, 26% undecided still after this hour. They're going to have to still think about their vote over the next few days. But given Labor, this is a stronghold for Labor, Paul, Brisbane. We are at Suncorp, as you said. 33 of the 42 seats in Brisbane are held by Labor. So the fact that Crisafulli gets 35% of support here, I think you'd see that in itself as a victory tonight, Paul. So a close one. On paper, Miles wins, but you'd say there's a lot of positivity to take out for the LNP leader.
Yeah, I mean, you've hosted these things in every state, the territories and at the federal level. When you see a quarter of the room still undecided, yet again, a whole bunch of opinion polls have told us that it's all heading in one way. I'm going to get into some details a little bit later that we all know where I want it to go, but I think this thing is actually going to be closer than some people think. How regular is it that a quarter of the room walks out undecided?
Well, you know, you talk about this as well, that third-party element, the independents and the minor parties. That is a big part of our political equation now, and I know watching you regularly, as I enjoy doing, you do talk about it a lot with One Nation or whatever it else. So I think that might be a component of what we're seeing tonight, Paul, with that 26%. But I personally think, you know, the other thing is when you see them, and you know this, having spoken to the leaders over the months and years, you know who's feeling good heading into Saturday. And tonight, Miles, you know, he's having a crack, but I've got to say the sense I got was that Crisafulli is feeling like you know, for want of a better phrase, that the wind is in his sail heading into Saturday. I think he's going to get there. You're right, things are tightening a bit, but Crisafulli will be the premier come Sunday.
Well, I mean, again, the relationship between the overall somebody other than the major parties. Have a look at this. Today, the Resolve poll came out via the Brisbane Times website. Once you put the Greens at 11, One Nation at 9, and the collection of others, guess what? 27%. 27% is the not Labor or Liberal vote. In this room, again, about the same number. So, again, people who might be going in undecided, you know, maybe they don't want brand red, brand blue, so they're going to try to find somewhere else. And a really important issue, right, and this is why third party as an issue is one I'm so obsessed with, right? It's all well and good for a quarter of people to vote something other than the two major parties, right? It's what they do with their preferences. Now, if people follow how to vote cards, we know that when the Conservative parties basically are anti the sitting government, it's going to help the LNP to help change the government. The Greens are going to not play well in the bush, but they're going to play pretty well in the southeast. And as we've noticed about Queensland, bloody big place, but an awful lot of seats in that southeast. So that's really fascinating to me, that basically, you know, one organisation using its data to go one way, our room, we've come to the same conclusion. And if you've got a quarter of the vote, who they put second, because the Labor Party under Palaszczuk made this a compulsory preferences election, that's going to really open the door where I think LNP in some seats, in fact, I'll get into the detail in a second, they will be praying for the preferences of the Conservatives and the showing of the Greens. That's what Labor needs to have a hope of minority.
Yeah, indeed. And the other, one of those things that jumped out at me tonight, wonderful questions, I thought, Paul, from the audience, but the one from the young Jewish woman who said, what will you do to combat anti-Semitism? And this is an issue, I think, which is relevant to what you're talking about when it comes to the Greens. I just wonder how some of those leafy suburbs, say small L Liberals, would be feeling about some of the behaviour coming out of that particular minor party in recent months. We'll see on Saturday how it transpires, whether they do get the number of seats that they're talking about, but some of the language, some of the message from Greens elements, whether it be particularly in New South Wales. We know of a few in the federal parliament as well. There's been elements of anti-Semitism, and I just wonder how people in the leafy suburbs of Brisbane react to that when otherwise they might be leaning towards a vote for the minor party.
My oath. Congrats on tonight. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday, 5 p.m, because remember, the time zones are all different. 5 p.m. is when you can see things in the east as they start to roll out in Queensland. Keep the earpiece in, because I've got a little bit of data for you that I think might turn up in the coverage. I look forward to being part of it on Saturday night, mate. I'll be wearing shorts, business up top, shorts down the bottom, I guarantee. Thank you, KG.